So, with a new anime season just 1 week away, I think it's more than time for me to start getting back into the anime game, as it were, with the new season coming up for spring. And as such, I feel it necessary in order to talk about what I'm actually going to be looking at this upcoming season, and specifically why I'm choosing to go about these series. So, without any further ado, let's get into the primer for the spring 2018 season as I delve into what I'm watching this season. Now, a lot of you may be asking yourselves how I'm going to be going about this considering my previous formula and whatnot. Well, I'm going to be following the same formula as I did the last time I tried doing this, which is giving a show at least 3 weeks or 3 episodes worth before I either choose to continue with it or drop it. But if a show manages to completely either lose me, disinterest me, or just in general find myself just going like, I can't continue on with this within the first episode, it will immediately get dropped. But with that being said, I'm going to give at least all the shows that I'm going to be looking at least 3 chances on this. If it doesn't manage to pull me in by 3 episodes, that's most likely when I'm going to drop it. So, without any further ado, let's get started. A lot of the shows this season are actually going to be quite a lot of sequels. 3 of them at least are going to be sequels to stuff that's already been shown. I've already mentioned one of them at least I'm trying to catch up on, which is Food Wars at the moment. But for the ones that I have currently caught up with, it's My Hero Academia Season 3. Now, there seems to be a very running theme with spring anime and Hero Academia getting a certain season now during this period. And honestly, considering the last season that we had back in 2017 regarding this, I feel like this has been sorely missed. Because the hype train for Hero Academia has only just continued going on as the years have gone on. I talked about Hero Academia when it first came out in 2016, however I only just caught up with Season 2 currently. But considering the fact that Hero Academia's Season 2's ending left quite a huge cliffhanger for this one, I am very excited for this. I've always been a really big fan of Hero Academia since the first season came out regarding that, so obviously this is going to be a no-brainer for me. So of course, I'm obviously going to be picking this as to what I'm going to be covering this season. But aside from My Hero Academia, there's also another adaptation of a sequel-ish series being brought to light this season, and admittedly it's one from a few years ago that I'm really happy is finally getting its sequel done, even if the source material only just got released a few years ago, and it's Steins Gate Zero. We all know how Steins Gate ended, and if you don't, you really need to watch Steins Gate. But I think we all know how it ended and how it went about with its premise. But what if they didn't succeed? What if Kurisu was never saved? What if the beta timeline continued on as it did, with Kurisu never being saved and Okabe continuing to fail and giving up? Steins Gate Zero essentially takes that little what-if premise, and basically expands it into a full-length saga as a sequel/retelling/alternate reality telling of Steins Gate. Now, this is really a really interesting concept because I love Steins Gate and I love its concept so much, and while I haven't played the visual novel of it, I really should at this point, but honestly I'm not sure if there's a translation now. No, I remember this specifically, it's actually been released for the West officially, but I am really hyped for this, because Steins Gate was definitely one of those shows back in 2012 where I was really excited for it throughout the entire run. So to see Steins Gate Zero get a release in an anime all sorted this soon, it's really awesome. And for what I hear, it's getting a full 24 episode run, so that's going to be absolutely amazing for at least 2 seasons worth to see how this goes. And as I recall, Silver Fox has returned after this, after going back to the well with ReZero, so with that under their belt, alongside going back to the series that I feel like made them popular in the first place, it's only fitting that I return to this series and I cover it for its run. And now we reach the original parts, the stuff that isn't adaptation, the stuff that isn't specifically sequels and whatnot. And the first one that I'm going to be looking at is a series called Devil's Line. The synopsis reads as follows. Anzai, half vampire, and Tsukasa, a normal schoolgirl, Vampires seem to live among humans. Of course, the government does not know their existence because their appearance does not differ from humans. They also do not need to drink blood, but when they get a craving or get angry, they become uncontrollable monsters. I think that summary says it all realistically. Like, granted, we haven't seen that much information regarding it from the previews and whatnot, and the synopsis leave a lot to be desired, but with that being said, I feel very interested towards this premise. Like, it feels like this could be one of those series that either misses the mark entirely or really becomes one of the big ones this season. Like, admittedly, it's too close to call at this point considering the fact that we don't have a lot of information, but from what I can tell, it's going to be released in the second week of the releases. So, while I'm not holding my breath on this show, the premise is enough to get me interested in it. And admittedly, that's part of the reason why I'm looking at it so much, because of its interesting of the vague synopsis and the vague information regarding it, while at the same time, the premise of what we're given so far being enough to try and validate it. More to come when I actually look at my first impressions for this. But admittedly, that's also part of the reason why I chose Magical Girl Sight. Now, this one was definitely one that I felt a really big kindred towards because of its premise in general. The synopsis reads as follows. Aya Asagiri is a middle school girl who has problems both at school with bullying and at home in form of physical abuse by her brother. While browsing online, a website blog pops up on her computer with a creepy-looking person. This person appears to take pity on her and announces that she has gained Asagiri magical power, that she has granted her magical powers. Now, this could be a very interesting concept considering the fact that shows like Madoka Magica have basically shown us that magical girls can indeed be mixed with horror and psychological thriller action. But at the same time, from what I've seen in the PV, it looks like it takes the concepts that Madoka introduced back in 2011 and upping them by about 1100 and fuck. And honestly, if they can pull this off, I'm going to be very excited for this. Because from what I've seen in the PV so far, this looks like it's either going to exploit the fact that it's absolutely violent magical girl schlock, or it is going to be so amazing with it that I can't help but fall off with it. Either way, the Magical Girl site is definitely getting my views for this season. So far at least. I'm giving it a shot because it looks interesting, it has a very twisted premise on Magical Girl stuff, and considering the fact that the last Magical Girl show I looked at on this thing was very shit nonetheless, I feel like it could be very much the show that I could be relatively interested in. But again, we'll find out. And of course, if you want some magical stuff that isn't related to Magical Girls and want some classic D&D style action, there's Last Period for you. Period is how magic uses called who beat spiral monsters that were summoned from isolation. Due to the rise of these beings, 14-year-old apprentice Period Haru, who is part of the 8th Arc and Division, who's called himself into the endless battle. However, a mysterious fever occurred and sank the division into bankruptcy, forcing Haru and his other comrades to leave their headquarters. To rebuild a branch, they have to overcome quest after quest. Apologies for my constant rambling on that, it's very hard to read this because the translation is so poor, but I believe you get the gist from that. This show is basically going to be your standard D&D style medieval magic and sorcery and whatnot. And honestly, with the PV and the current design of it and whatnot, I can only tell that this is going to be absolutely amazing. While granted, we have had a sort of a shortage of that since ReZero and whatnot, I feel like this won't exactly reach the pinnacle that ReZero brought us, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless, because hey, who doesn't like fantasy and action, especially with stuff like this happening? So, Last Period is definitely going on my watch list this season. But of course, if you want some slice of life action for what I'm viewing at this season, I'm going to be looking at Wataku Nikoi, which follows the exploits of two people working in the same workplace after discovering that they work together. A crazed gaming otaku and a fujoshi reunite for the first time since middle school. After some post-work drinking sessions, they begin dating. But how will this perfect relationship be for the two? Looks like we're going to find out this season, ladies and gentlemen. I get the feeling it's going to be one of those very will they, won't they scenarios that of course will end up being they will. But of course, slice of life and romantic comedies and whatnot has been sort of all over the place with every season, but I feel like this could definitely be the one series that could actually, you know, have some substance behind it. But of course, 3 episodes is what I'm going to give it. If it doesn't seem like it's going to go anywhere after 3 episodes, or if it's just going to be cliche after cliche after cliche, it's going to get dropped. But I'm hoping that with a premise like this, and hopefully it's actually got some substance behind it, and of course we have the big one, ladies and gentlemen. From A1 Productions, it's Persona 5 the animation. I don't think I need to talk about this because Persona 5 was so big last year that you couldn't escape it. Everybody around the internet and around the world was talking about how big Persona 5 was last year. So it's obviously no surprise that 1 year on from its release in Japan, it's getting released. It's getting an anime adaptation. And honestly, considering the fact that I played it quite heavily last year, I'm really excited for this. And honestly, if Persona 4 was any indication, A1 Productions is going to absolutely demolish this show and basically give it the same treatment that Persona 4 had. And honestly, whether or not that's a good or bad thing is up for discussion. Because of how much was skipped over and kind of glossed over a little bit with Persona 4, I get the feeling that it's going to be a bit of the same like that, but hopefully, after they've given themselves so long to actually, you know, look at what happened with Persona 4 the animation and apply it to this, we may actually see a better version done of what could have been Persona 4. But again, A1 has definitely booked this in for a 24 episode run, so of course we're going to get as much as possible from this with the same style of Persona 4. And of course, if you couldn't tell, I'm definitely putting it on my list. So, with all that being said, I will join you all for my first impressions in 2 weeks' time for the spring 2018 season. Until then, Shamatana Taku Brethren, and hey, if you have your thoughts on this, leave them down below and tell me what you're going to be looking at this season. Until next time, catch you then.